Hi, my name is Kene Rapu and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Kene Rapu is a qualified lawyer with an LLB law degree from the University of Bristol, United Kingdom, and a master's degree in fashion entrepreneurship from the London College of Fashion, United Kingdom. Her company is described as the #1 Nigerian footwear brand, championing local production, established in 2011, and has played a significant role in changing the face of Made in Nigeria footwear. In 2016, she was selected by the Tony Elumelu Foundation as one of the 1,000 African entrepreneurs whose idea could change Africa. In 2017, as one of the 100 most influential women in Nigeria by Leading Ladies Africa, and most recently listed in the prestigious Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 class of 2018 in the business category. Kene Rapu is the founder and CEO of Kene Rapu.
Welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Kene.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you attended the Cheltenham Ladies College in the United Kingdom and subsequently read law at the University of Bristol. Why law in the first place?
Why law? I think people always ask me that, and it goes on to how did you make the switch if you knew you weren't going to study law? Why did you study, why did you choose to do it? But I think I wanted to study law. I guess, there's a typical Nigerian mentality of, okay, you need a base degree, something that you can fall back on, so it's either law or medicine or architecture, which is all fair enough. I would still say I'm happy that I did it. It's sort of doing an academic degree adds a lot to your portfolio that you may not otherwise have if you didn't do it or if you went straight to fashion. So at the time, I definitely did want to do law because I knew I wanted to do something academic. And for me, I wasn't very good at sciences. I'm not a math person. I'm not so all if you sort of group together all the academic degrees, law was something that I wanted to do. And people always actually said I should do law because, the usual comments, you talk a lot or you argue a lot and all of that. And law was pretty straightforward to do. So I did want to do it. And I was excited when I wanted to go to Bristol as well to study it. I was excited when I got in and I was excited to do it. But I think obviously as the journey goes, you discover yourself more, you begin to learn more about what you're passionate about and what you're not passionate about. And then, it's always okay to pivot and do something else. But for the years that I was doing law, I was happy doing them.
So you would later bag your master's degree in Fashion Entrepreneurship from the London College of Fashion, yes? At what point did you know that it was fashion?
So I moved back to Nigeria immediately after university. I finished university in 2011 and went straight into law school. So finished in about June, went straight into law school in I think July. And because then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it was like, okay, you've done your law degree, just come right back, get law school out of the way. But I would say during my university sort of period, I began to discover myself a bit more. I began to get more interested in fashion. I always did internships as well, even before university, throughout secondary school, from when I was about 13. As soon as I went to boarding school, every holiday I would do internships. So I started doing with all sorts of people, with architects, in law firms, in oil and gas companies, with stylists, with fashion designers. I think that also has helped my network. I've worked with so many people over the years. Worked at Lagos Fashion and Design Week for about 7 years. So that was all through university.
You also walked the runway.
Walked the runway. So throughout, and then university, I did some modeling. So I think I started really discovering myself, let's say from before 2011, maybe from between 13 and 21 really. So moving back, I knew, okay, I have this law degree. I've discovered myself. I've seen the things that I'm interested in, the things that I'm passionate about. Fashion kept popping up. I was interested in modeling. I was getting into the industry with Fashion Week. And so I thought, okay, let me just do law school because I don't know yet which part of fashion I want to go into. So came back to do law school, finished it, and then I realized, okay, I'm really not passionate about this. Because when you get to law school, you see people who are, this is the living, breathing, this law that, and for me, law school, I was like, oh my, it was a drag for me. And I think that's when I realized that I really don't want to work in the legal system in Nigeria. It's just not for me. Some people love it, but I'm not passionate. And so my business started in law school. And after law school, I took a year out to really just do more research, focus more on focus more on the business and what I thought I wanted to do. Because I started in law school, so I was sort of doing it in and out and on the side. So I decided to take a year out and just really decide, is this what I wanted to do? How can we make this work? And all of that, do some research, start trying to sell, start, building my website, all of that. I started talking to I've always had a lot of mentors, started talking to people. And I thought, this thing can work, obviously being guided. And then I thought, okay, I now need knowledge, because for me, I think that knowledge is power. And so in that year, I decided, okay, I need to do a master's in fashion entrepreneurship. But I didn't know it would be fashion entrepreneurship, but something to do with fashion and the business sort of side of fashion. I mean, I looked at marketing courses, I looked at merchandising courses, all of that. And then when I obviously found fashion entrepreneurship, it just blended every single thing that I had in mind together. I had all my internships, so I had a good CV, a good portfolio. You have to do essays and all of that. Anyway, I had a good application, so I got in. That's really how that part of my journey came to be.
All right, so tell me about your experience at the London College of Fashion.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think that it helped me really explore my creative side. It was a very business-based course. But I think just being in a creative space, so the University of the Arts London is a mix of different colleges. You have the people in Central St. Martin's, the people in all the other schools, people in LCF doing all sorts of different courses, and you're basically in the same vicinity as these people, fashion designers, creatives. So my course didn't really have a lot of creatives per se, but just being in the general atmosphere of creativity. I remember when I first got there, I was like, oh my gosh, my law background has nothing to do with fashion, and I was a bit, intimidated, I may say, because you think, I'm coming into something completely different. But it actually really helped me. I think it just brought a different dimension. Like, I did really well on my course. I think just having that law background, I was able to put a lot in, do a lot of research, just really make the most of it. And then I found that on my course, there were people from diverse backgrounds. There were people who had done business undergraduates. There were people who, I remember there was a girl who had worked in Total. There were all sorts of people. So it wasn't as intimidating as I thought it would be, because I didn't have a creative background. But I think it definitely helped me explore that creative side that had been sort of itching to come out even through the law, and just see another part of myself. And it was a fantastic year. It was a lot of hard work, but it was a really, really great year.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
Kene is the founder and CEO of Kene Rapu, the #1 Nigerian footwear brand, championing local production established in 2011, and stays ruggedly consistent in communicating this. What does her journey so far look like?
So a lot of media outlets have spoken about this raw passion of yours for the Nigerian fashion industry. Do you think passion is a skill that can be acquired?
I don't think so. I think you're either passionate about something. I think your passion can grow. You need a basic level of passion or interest, I would say. So if you're interested in something, you can become more passionate. So I wouldn't say I was interested in fashion, but I wasn't like, I'm so passionate. Your passion can grow. But if you're not passionate, if you don't care about fashion, maybe you're an, mathematician or a doctor, and you're not passionate about fashion at all, I think it would be difficult to suddenly become very passionate about it, or unless something triggers it or something. But usually I think there's that sort of base, okay, I'm interested, I have this inkling that I like this thing, and then you can take it from there.
So your desire is to play internationally, globally. How would you know when it's time?
For us, I would say that I know it's time because I would say we've tested the market, so to speak. So we currently do a wholesale scheme, which we launched last year, 2017, and it has done really well. By God's grace, we've had. I remember when I I'm very spiritual. I remember I was saying to God, like, I want the nation. So before I used to say, let's get 1 million people wearing KR. And then I changed it to let's get the nations wearing KR, because the Bible says ask for the nations. I remember I started asking for the nations, and then we launched this wholesale scheme, and we would get interest from all sorts of places. And I started writing down all the countries, because I was like, I've asked for this thing, oh, let me not say that it's come, and I missed it. All sorts of countries, Kenya, Lebanon, the US, Dubai, Canada, a lot of interest. And for me, that is almost like a testing the market. So I feel like even with your faith and everything, you still need to test the market. If I put my product out here, is it really going to work? And they're just finding me, they like my product, and they're actually ordering, they're actually sending their money across to somebody that they don't know. They've just seen a brand, maybe on Instagram or on TV. And just getting that really, really good feedback, first of all, showing me that, okay, my product is needed, or my product is, people like my products. People who are experts coming in here and saying, oh, I'm taking them back to my friends. People would always come in here and buy for their friends abroad. So we know that there was a market in different countries, and the wholesale scheme really, really helped me see that. And then a lot of international press has also gotten us feedback, like, oh my gosh, when are you coming to our city? So these are all, I would say, market testing strategies, so to speak. So I think for me, when I also want something, I just go for it.
So has your law degree in any way added value to your business?
I think it's added value to me as a person, which would directly impact my business. But in terms of actually practicing law, I don't. I have lawyers, but I just think for me as a person, just being a lawyer, you read things, you double check things, you do your research. I don't sign any contracts. So it makes you confident, just knowing, okay, I've chosen to do this. I can go and do something else, but this is a choice, and so I'm going to have to make it work, if you know what I mean. So I think in that regard, I think it's also added to my story, to be honest, to be fair. I think it also makes people think there must really be something in what this girl is doing. If you're struggling it out, you're hustling it out, when you could just be sitting in a law firm. I remember there was even an uncle that I saw last weekend, and he was like, that he was saying just well done, that he was one of the people who was like, oh, Kene, you'll be a great lawyer. When I first wanted to do this after law school, obviously uncles and aunties, they all have your best interest at heart, but really pushing me to be a lawyer. And he was like, I really have to say congratulations. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, you're part of my story, because it helped me push and say I had to succeed in this, because there are people whose law firms I could be working at who would probably pay me a lot more to, be a lawyer, and I've chosen to do this. So for me, it also helps me, it gives me that extra drive that I have to make it work, to say that this was a good decision, this was a good choice, and it's something that I'm genuinely passionate about.
How has travel and interacting with different cultures helped to shape your business and, of course, added value to you as a person?
Traveling makes you more exposed generally. You get to see how things are done in different countries. You get to, there's a certain standard. So I always say from the beginning, I never saw my brand as a Nigerian brand. In my mind, it was always a global brand. A certain brand abroad put their products out there. How would they relate to their customers? What would their customer relationship management be like? How would they, all those things, what would their website look like? So for me, that helped me erase any form of mediocrity from the beginning, because I saw myself as, when I go abroad, this is what I expect, not when I'm in Nigeria, because the Nigerian customer service, completely different ball game. And I feel like just being exposed and being privileged to be able to travel and see how things are done elsewhere has helped me build my brand in that regard. Packaging, how should things, be put forward? What should the customer expect? How do you keep your integrity to say, okay, I want to have the same level of, the same structure, the same level of, customer service, the same, I want to keep to my word. I don't want, it helps you. So even if you have to, you're sort of shooting for the stars, and even if you have to fall back because maybe there's no lights or there's generator problems or, dispatch riders disappoint you, it's less of a fall as opposed to if from you're just like anything goes in Nigeria. So I think that has really, really helped. And then also quality. From the beginning, I was like, my quality has to be top notch, because this is not a Nigerian product, this is an international product. I want people to be able to come into our store, buy our product, take it abroad and say, and be able to wear it alongside any other international brand, and maybe even have better quality than they would abroad.
All right, that's an amazing story.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
2016, Kene Rapu was selected by the Tony Elumelu Foundation as one of the 1,000 African entrepreneurs whose idea could change Africa.
So while on this CEO journey, what were those key challenges that you've had to overcome to make the strides you've made so far?
Our challenge maybe in 2014 may have been like, how do we stay consistent with our production? You know, how do we meet up with orders on time? Since we were then growing, there was now more demand. Our challenge the next year may have been, how do we increase our supply? So I think every step of the way you find different challenges, and it's just sitting down and say, okay, first of all, I have to overcome the challenge no matter what. Second of all, how do I go about it? I think without the challenges, you're not going to grow. So if a customer is, you know, extremely upset at you, that would be a challenge. And if you don't know how to manage that so it doesn't happen again, you haven't grown. So I think challenges in business are normal and they should be welcome, because through them, you can get to the next level.
So talking about human resource, it's a key element to consider when building any enterprise. How do you typically hire?
I mean, we're still a smallish staff strength. I think about 10 people that work with KR. And I hire through people who know people or who can referrals.
So tell me about your leadership style.
I try to be a leader and not a boss. Just being on the same playing field with everyone who works on my team, explaining why we need to do this. I think when people see you working hard and see you being passionate as well, they're also passionate. They see that you can I can be on the floor cleaning slippers tomorrow. Next tomorrow I can be somewhere else. I always say that there's no hierarchy almost. Like, okay, you know your job and you do it. I also try and let them use their initiative a lot. So I'm like, okay, you guys come up with new things and come up with new ideas. If a customer is unhappy, you sort it out. Obviously, I'm at the back end, but you use your initiative. If you obviously you do have to manage people, but if you don't let them use their initiative at all, you're stifling their growth as well, which isn't for your benefit. So I think just being all-inclusive and just being relatable. Obviously, you're still firm, because you need to be firm, but you're approachable, and people know that you have their best interest at heart. I think that when staff know that I have your best interest at heart, that if I treat you well, you're going to treat me well. So if I'm wicked to you, I know that I'm not going to get anything from you. But I think when they see that this person actually has our best interest at heart, this person is a kind person, sometimes a little bit too kind, but you have their best interest at heart, and they also have your best interest at heart.
So tell me about your failings as a leader.
I can be impatient because of the way I am. I'm very get it done. I want it done now. And sometimes you need to also realize that people are also learning. They're doing things in their own, I don't know, to the best of their ability. So they may be a bit slow, but it's because you are like all the way over here. They are still trying to catch up. So I know that I'm definitely impatient sometimes. So I say just being able to meet people a bit halfway, a bit more, helps and encourages them. And I think to be honest, for me, I would say now at this stage where we have more stuff, I'm very intentional about researching how have other brands done it, how, I hear of all these Nigerian brands who have kept their staff for 8-10 years. And so for me, I read up on those things, I watch their videos, okay, how can I build that culture so that I can also be a good leader? Because I don't think anyone necessarily is a good leader overnight. And I think for me, I'm quite active in church, so I do a lot of leadership trainings as well. So this whole training, I don't think anybody was just born a fantastic leader.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
For a leader who has failed in the area of patience and who believes in being a boss and not a leader, I'm eager to know what skill sets she is developing to ensure she becomes a great CEO.
Okay, so what are those key skill sets that a CEO needs to acquire in managing people?
But I would say things like patience. I would say, because you even need patience to be able to explain to people why this needs to be done and to let them imbibe the culture of your organization. Patience, I would say emotional intelligence, because you need people to come along with you. You need to train people. Sometimes I feel like we want people to be on our level quickly, but I think that it can even be long-suffering sometimes. I've trained you, I need to train you again. So I think I think you need to be hardworking, because your people would imbibe your culture. If you're always sleeping and they know that this one is not going to wake up till 10, 11 a.m., why are they going to be at work at 9 a.m.? So I feel like even if you're not at work at 9 a.m. because you have the luxury to do what you want with your time, you need to let them know that I'm up. I'm up at 6 a.m., I'm up at 7 a.m., I'm monitoring what you're doing. I think you need to be hardworking because people are going to do what they see you do in terms of managing your people.
All right, really quickly, tell me, what are the values that you and your firm hold dear?
I would say integrity is really, really big because I know that a lot of companies sometimes, not necessarily because, there's so many challenges in Nigeria, but sometimes you're left, people say things and they don't deliver. And I think for me, integrity, so one thing I get upset about with them is if you say 1 week to a person, even if you can't meet up, let's say you take an order, you must call them. So that's one thing that I can't handle. If I find a person dishonest, I can't work with them because I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. No matter what you're given to do, you do it well, you do it with all your heart. That is, for me, that's a plus. And also, just quality as well. Quality is key for us as well.
All right, so tell me quickly, what's the biggest letdown you've experienced in business so far?
The biggest letdown I've experienced in business, I think in running a business, your expectations may not always be met. So you may have a target. Let's say, okay, my target is X amount in November, and you don't meet your target. That's a letdown. But you have to, you just have to double up. You just have to rise above. So I think sometimes, especially in retail, you can have all the strategies you want, but I just feel like in Nigeria, we don't have the research to tell us this is, it's just based on, experience. Okay, maybe in some summer months, sales may go down, sales may come up, Christmas people shop, but sometimes you can be disappointed so I think retail can be very tough because you're making money as the customers buy. If the customers decide that they're not going to buy, then they're not going to buy. So I think something like that could be a letdown, but you just need to know that you just have to keep pushing, you have to double up. Some months will be slow. Every month you still need to pay salaries. So you just need to figure it out. How do I, rise above this and move on?
This is Under 40 CEOs.
A business leader whose expectations have not always been met. This lawyer turned creative is living her best life. However, I would like to know her lifestyle choices and more.
So I have a few quick fire questions for you. What do you love to eat?
Yeah, I'm not fussy about food, so I'm open to a lot of things.
What's your fashion style?
Quite minimalist in my style, so you always find me in shirts, jeans. Even when I'm dressed up, I'm quite simple in my style. I tend to be a bit casual. Even when I'm dressed up, I will still go for I'm not OTT. I don't know what the opposite word to that would be, but I'm very minimalist, I would say. Yeah.
What's your favorite brand to wear?
My favorite brand to wear, Kene Rapu, of course. I wear my brand pretty much 90% of the time.
What CEO do you currently look up to?
People like Zaron, the CEO of Zaron, she's done a fantastic job. CEO of House of Tara, CEO of Lagos Fashion and Design Week.
All right, what's your favorite travel destination?
The Bible, because it has, it has so much in it, like there's strategy, there's wisdom, it's timeless, and you can always go back to it. Nothing changes, everything is the same. So yes, I will stick to that.
So what book are you reading right now?
Lean In, yeah.
So lastly, Kene, I'd like to know, what makes you happy?
I'm really big on family. I can literally be with my family all the time, both nuclear and extended. I like eating out, even though I don't have a favorite food. I think I like the experience of just, being to new places, discovering a lot of new restaurants in Lagos at the moment. So I like discovering new places. I think those things make me happy. I think also succeeding in my business makes me happy. When you put so much into something and you see the fruits of your labor, that's very gratifying.
Amazing. So thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs, Kene.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Hi, my name is Kene Rapu, and you too can be an Under 40 CEO.
This is Under 40 CEOs.